Hello, everybody. Pastor Dave from Grace Community Church with another video for you. This morning, I was watching TV and I saw the governor of New York. He was talking about the COVID-19 virus. It's hit especially hard in New York, as many of you know. And he was describing the situation and for himself as well as for others, and used a word that I think is an appropriate word, although it's not necessarily an inviting or a good word to describe any situation. But he used the word disorienting, and that's true. These times have been disorienting. They're stressful days, and we're latching on to any hope that we can, and they're anxious days, and truthfully, we just like it to all be over. It'd be great if it would just end tomorrow. We're definitely having a hard time keeping track of what day it is. I don't know if you are, but I know I am. And just derailed from a normal routine in life. This unwelcome and unscheduled crisis has us reeling. But the thing is, I don't want us to become so disoriented that we forget about what time of year this is, because this is Easter time, and Easter time is a time that I know for me, it's a time of the year when God helps to refocus me, helps me to regroup. Where he helps me to think about not just what's important in life, but what's most important in life. And so let's not forget about Easter, and I want to help with that, if I can. What I want to do this morning is read a text in the Bible, read a passage of Scripture, and make comments as we go. Hopefully these comments will help get us focused on this special time of the year, this time that we celebrate, remember, contemplate what Jesus did for us on the cross, and what it means that he rose from the dead. Beginning in chapter 18, verse 28 of the Gospel of John, it says this. It says, "Then they led Jesus from the house of Caiaphas to the governor's headquarters." Of course, what they were doing was the religious leaders, the Jews, had investigated Jesus and determined that he was a threat to their nation and that he needed to be eliminated. It was early morning. They themselves did not enter the governor's headquarters so that they would not be defiled, but could eat the Passover. Of course, they're thinking about ritual defilement and not being in contact with Gentile people during this special time when they would partake of the Passover. It's really ironic that they're about to accuse and ask for the life of Jesus Christ himself, who is the fulfillment of the Passover. How ironic and how tragic these times were for the religious leaders. So Pilate, to accommodate them, he went outside to them and said, "What accusation do you bring against this man?" So we're moving from the Jews and their accusations, and they're requesting that the Gentile leader, that the Roman governor examine Jesus and make the determination that he's a threat to the nation. They answered him, "If this man were not doing evil, we would not have delivered him over to you." Pilate said, "Take him yourselves and judge him by your own law." The Jews said to him, "It is not lawful for us to put anyone to death." This was to fulfill the word that Jesus had spoken, to show by what kind of death he was going to die. So Pilate entered his headquarters again and called Jesus and said to him, "Are you the king of the Jews?" So here's where it's just Pilate and it's just Jesus, and there's an interrogation. Now, please understand, on the surface, this seems like one very weak man in the presence of one very strong and powerful man who represents the Roman government. But in truth, we know the truth, and the truth is that Jesus voluntarily gave himself up to the religious leaders to be accused by them, and voluntarily allowed himself to be interrogated and later accused and then sentenced to death by this Roman leader. But make no mistake about it, Jesus doesn't cease to be the most powerful being in the entire universe during this questioning. He is the King of Kings and the Lord of Lords, even though for a time he has become humble to the point of being willing to give his very life as a sacrifice for sins. Jesus answered, "Do you say this of your own accord, or did others say it to you about me?" He's asking Pilate, is this something that comes from within you? Are you curious about me and who I am? Or are you asking me this question because the Jews told you to ask me this question? Pilate answered, "Am I a Jew? Your own nation and the chief priests have delivered you over to me. What have you done?" Jesus answered, "My kingdom is not of this world. If my kingdom were of this world, my servants would have been fighting that I might not be delivered over to the Jews. But my kingdom is not from the world." There is no doubt that Jesus is a king. He's always been a king. He's always been the king. He is the King of Kings and the Lord of Lords. Aren't these amazing words, especially in our day, in a day when people worship power and they strive for influence, and we want to be important. We want to be movers and shakers and decision makers, and have this worldly power at our fingertips. Jesus indicates here that there's another kind of power at work, especially here when he's in dialogue with Pilate. There's another kind there's another kind of fighting that's about to take place. But it's not the enlistment of an army by Jesus. It's his willingness as a single warrior to go to battle for us. And it's not swinging a sword and pouring out the blood of others, but it's the pouring out of his own blood. It's his being willing to be led by religious leaders into a trial, a guiltless man, an innocent man, being led to a trial that has no legal justification, and being willing to stand before a puny Roman governor and be questioned. This is what God calls real power. And it's something that we should appreciate about Jesus. something that should cause us to worship him. I want you to think about the poise under pressure here. The absolute control that Jesus has over this situation, knowing what's eventually going to become of this, that he's going to die, that he's going to be sentenced to death, that he's going to be ridiculed by the very people that he made, that he created. This is a different sort of king. This is a king looking beyond what we think we need, to a king looking to meet our deepest needs. A king looking to meet our need for a reconciliation with God that could only be accomplished by his own death, his own sacrifice, his own giving of himself. One of the most fascinating verses in the Bible is that Jesus didn't come to be served, but to serve and to give his life a ransom for many. And this is Jesus doing that in this critical context. This is Jesus laying down his life for us. And this is what a true king does. A true king. A true man of power. A true man of majesty and splendor. This is Jesus at his finest. Jesus in his glory. And this is religious leaders who don't have a clue. And a Roman governor who's equally clueless. But for us, this is the power of God. This is salvation. This is truth. Pilate asked him, verse 37, Pilate said to him, "So you are a king?" Jesus answered, "You say that I'm a king. For this purpose I was born, and I have come into this world. I bear witness to the truth. Everyone who is of the truth listens to my voice." This is a king proclaiming truth. Pilate said to him, "What is truth?" as if to dismiss him. After he said this, he went out back outside to the Jews and told them, "I find no guilt in him. This is not a man who appears to be royal to me. This is not a man who appears to be wanting a throne. This is a man, I find no guilt in him. I find no reason to put him to death. But you have a custom that I should release one man for you at the Passover. So do you want me to release to you the king of the Jews?" They cried out, "Not this man, but Barabbas." Now Barabbas was a robber. So what we see finally in this passage of Scripture is that Jesus is a different sort of king. Jesus is a king who wants more than to be recognized as the most powerful man on the face of the earth. He wants to use his power. I think sometimes what we need to think about as Christians is, in order to be healthy Christians, in order to understand the Christian faith, I think we need to think in different categories. I think we need to understand that Christianity is counterintuitive to normal human beings. That sometimes it seems as though as Christians we're thinking backwards and upside down and not right side up. Here is the story of a criminal, someone who was not a criminal in any legal sense, because he was totally and completely innocent. He couldn't be considered a criminal judicially, but they treated him like a criminal. And this one who they treated like a criminal was the King of Kings and the Lord of Lords. And one day every knee shall bow and every tongue will confess that he's anything but a criminal. but he is the Lord of all. Think about that. Thank you.